It has been a few days since Wordless Wednesday, and so I wanted to post a video just talking to you guys. I pulled a hamstring because I started back, working part-time or PRN, and so it's work related, but it's not because of work that I pulled a hamstring. So I think I should quit again, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do my couple days a week so I can have plant money. So anyway, I wanted to talk today about some updates. I'm a little bit older, and doing the social media thing, I think it's important if I want to try and promote this garden community that I actually have a community. So I opened up my there was a big bug. There was me and Sydney are like, so I wanted to, I had a previous Facebook page that was pretty successful, and so I opened that back up. And I do encourage everyone to go there. It's not Garden Rules on there yet. I had to appeal to try and get that name. Not sure why Facebook initially denied it. I think it's just the computer. It gave such an immediate response, so I know a human being did not look at it. So hopefully the appeal goes through and it'll be Garden Rules on there. But for right now, it is Dirty South Gardening on Facebook. And I had a previous name, the Dirty Gardener, on there, and there was another Dirty Gardener, but it wasn't on Facebook, it was somewhere else. And so just trying to change the name and try to get continuous flow of good information to you guys. So it'll be Dirty South Gardening on Facebook for right now, at least for the next week. And so there's a lot of good information because I did that for a few years. And the notes are the biggest thing. Sure, I have a lot of posts and great cover photos and things like that, but the information in the notes is the good stuff. That covers all of the who, what, when, where, and all the things that we've been talking about up until this point. So go to Facebook and you can find me there. And then also, of course, I have the Instagram, which I need to update with plants. Sorry, I have like 2 photos and I'm sure people are like, that's it. So no, there will be many more photos. And of course, Sydney will be adding stuff as she sees fit, because she's always up on it on stuff like that. I'm always lazy about things like that. And so today for this garden chat, just wanted to kind of have us focus, because now there's really nothing happening in the garden. Things are maturing a little bit, but it's still very hot. We're still in the throes of summer at the end of July, going into August. August is the hottest month. And so things are not going to be getting fuller and putting on a show like if it was springtime. Now, things are, sure, their roots are settling in. The plants are getting a little bit more established, the plants that we planted. And so, but for right now, they're not going to put on a huge show. By next year this time, hey, Coda Bear, next year this time, things will be maybe twice as big, some plants, or they'll be blooming more often. And so that'll be a time that, we can reflect back to the time that we started. But this is really showing you the plants as I put them in the ground, and see how small everything is, to see how things are not mature in the garden, to show how, some things are really just not taking off at all, because I did a lot of planting and started this channel in this, early summer into midsummer. And so things are not going to progress greatly. And so if you started anything and you're feeling discouraged, do not. This is just what it is. Like I've told you before, this is gardening. Stuff doesn't always go right. Like I was telling Sydney, you're not a true gardener until you've killed at least 5 plants. Anybody will tell you. I mean, you're still a true gardener, but I don't think you can be considered intermediate until you've killed a couple things, especially things that you love. That you want so much. It's usually the plants that you really, really want, and you shouldn't be planting that plant because it's not for your zone, but you're like, you know what, I don't care, I'm getting this plant. I mean, I think about all the people who have bougainvillea, which is a vining plant that grows naturally in Florida. I should not be growing that plant here. I mean, sure, I can grow it here and it's an annual, but trying to overwinter it, really? So, unless I put it in the basement and mulch the heck out of it and protect it, that plant is going to die, and it's not meant to live here for a substantial long time, because it's just not hot enough. It's just not the tropical temps that it needs. So but enough about that. So the biggest thing, like I said, I don't want you to be discouraged because your plants are small. They're not getting full. You look at other YouTube pages or you look through magazines, and everybody's garden is so lush, it's so pretty, it's so perfect. They don't have weeds and all this stuff. And of course, everything is done prior to the photos being taken in a garden magazine, because people who do the garden magazines actually come in there and they fix up somebody else's garden. Like, they make sure there are no weeds, that there are no pests and things like that, unless they're doing a specific topic on that. There's a certain aesthetic that they have to promote, even though the bones of the garden are still there, and that person's plants are still there and they're still healthy and gorgeous and things like that. But things get watered, everything looks fresh and like it just bloomed and things like that. So I just, it's just a reality check. I need you to stay focused, keep your eyes on the prize, and look at the bigger picture. Okay, this is what I want to happen. Your garden is not going to mature for at least a good 3 to 5 years. So that plant that you buy in that quart size or pint size container, it's going to take 3 to 5 years for it to mature and get to the size that you want it to be, to get the look that you want it, the mature size that you see on the picture when you go to the garden center. So just make sure you keep that in mind and understand the ebb and flow of the seasons. It's hot as heck. Plants should not be producing things right now. Some plants will, because that's what they thrive in. But for the most part, plants are not going to just produce unless you have a very shady spot. It's cool. If you live up north, you'll probably see more blooms and things like that, because it's cooler temps. You're not dealing with 100 degrees all the time. You get spurts of it. But people who live in Arizona and people who live in Chicago, that's two totally different zones, two totally different microclimates that you're having to deal with. So that's just important to think about. Also, as far as being discouraged and things like that, I know sometimes, we subscribe to the bigger channels. The bigger channels have the funds to go and get a mature tree, a mature shrub, a mature plant, put it in the ground, and they have a ready-made garden. For most people, Bugs, for most people, you don't have that. So you're buying the 6-pack, single plants in the 6-pack containers. You're buying the pint size. You're buying anything that's $5 on clearance and things like that. Whereas they're going and spending $250 per tree so that they can have this full lush garden already, because they have the sponsorship and things like that. But the big pages are still great pages to go to, because they still have the information that you need. So go there, get the information you need, take away from it what you can, and move on. Don't sit there and look at the big pages like, oh, I can't do that, I can't do that. You can, you just have to wait. That's all. That's the only difference, is that you have to wait a little bit longer. And remember that a lot of these big pages started right where you're starting. I could have very well done this page, like I did my Facebook page when my garden was done and it was mature, and I had already been doing it for 10 years in this area, by the time I started that page. And so people are like, oh my gosh, your yard is so pretty, your yard's so pretty, not realizing the amount of work I had to put into it to get it to look that way, to look like things are constantly blooming, things are mature and full, and Coda's getting all the pets in the world. Oh my gosh, he is something else. Okay, so I just want to make sure that you stay encouraged, stay focused, and look at the bigger picture, all while taking it one day at a time. And then also we'll show a few photos or videos of some of the things that have matured a little bit, or have gotten established. I should put it like that. That have gotten established since the last 2 or 3 videos, especially the little butterfly bushes, because now we have plumes on Miss Molly and we have plumes on the Puckster, and so they're just really, really pretty. And then of course my limelight, I'm itching really bad. Something's biting the heck out of me. But the limelight is huge, and the blooms are they're just everywhere. So I know once that dies back, I'm gonna have to cut it back a little bit because it's bigger than the shed. Yeah. So yeah. And so, oh, it's nice and quiet now. The compressor from the AC unit has gone off, and all I hear is quiet. It's so nice. So hi, Coda Bear. Coda's here helping us with our garden chat today. And so Sydney, what was the next thing on our list?
As far as like this video, or
it just
says that we're supposed to mention about vegetable gardening.
Oh yes. So with the vegetable gardening, I also wanted to encourage you guys to go to some of the bigger channels, even some of the smaller channels. I do have on my page just a few of the channels that I subscribe to. I couldn't remember because it asks you, but it doesn't give you a list of all the people you already subscribe to. You have to type it in. And so I was trying to remember all the people that I follow, but I couldn't. But I'll try to put the rest of those up that I do follow. Most people I follow are, of course, flower gardeners. But vegetable gardening, you need to follow people who have been doing it forever, because they have tried and true methods that they use. Most are organic because, as you remember, with vegetable gardening, when you're doing food, you have to do organic because it's going into your body. Of course, you say, okay, well, it's inorganic in the store. Granted, except for the few things that are packaged organic. Yeah. And so, but the bigger channels really have a lot of good information. And I know they do have specific recipes, which you really don't have to have any detailed recipe for keeping critters away from your vegetables. You don't have to have a detailed recipe for keeping mold and mildew and things like that. It's usually just soap and water. It's just the parts to it. So it's usually like 1 to 3 parts. So what is that?
It's like 1 drop,
parts, something like that.
I don't know.
So it's like 1 part soap and 3. So like I said, it is 1 part soap and 3 parts water that you spray, and you can spray that on your plants, and it protects your plants and veggies and stuff like that. Then another one is neem oil. I've never really looked into neem oil, but neem oil is another good one to keep to protect your plants from pests. And then of course just knocking the pests off of the plants, which is gross because I hate bugs, and I have to be covered all up. I know some people don't get bit, and like mosquitoes don't bite them, and bugs don't bite them and bother them. They can be out of shorts and t-shirt and like, do this and that, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta cover up everything because everything's biting me. So but yeah, there's a bee over there. He's in the corner. Oh yeah, I hate bees. So I don't think I'm allergic. I just I don't want to be bit. I don't have a high pain threshold. So yeah, so that's just the main things that I want to talk about in this video. Just not being discouraged. Make sure that you go to the big channels for some of the information, because they repeat the same stuff over and over to try and just get it, just like with a parent and a child. You just you repeat things so that it can be ingrained, and then that child matures and they're just like, okay, this is just what it is, and you're able to let go. Now the bee is on the camera. Oh Lord. He's on the alrighty then. I'm just gonna try and sit here. Fancy over here, so I'm just trying to figure it out. So what was I saying before the bee attacked us? We got a swarm of 1 bee. And Sydney I think Sydney, make sure that a little bit of that bee is on the video, because that was hilarious. I don't do bugs, honey, and I work out in the yard. Oh my gosh, Lord, I done pulled something. Okay, so what was I saying before I stopped? I don't even remember. I had a flash of my life passing before
You have to look. I don't remember.
I don't remember. Child, y'all just gonna have to go with me. Y'all just gonna have to just deal with it. So, but we were talking about veggies and going to some of the bigger pages and things like that. And so, because they have tried and true information that they repeat all the time, and that's what all the big pages, they go through these things and they repeat all the time. Even with some of the things they do, they talk about deadheading and just want to keep in part. And there's just certain things that you're always going to have when it comes to gardening, and but like I say, there are no hard, fast rules with gardening, and that means the how part. Because how you garden, whether it's organic or inorganic or a mixture of the two, sometimes you can't be 100% organic because just life throws you curveballs. Like, I know one of my biggest things is not using plastic or landscape fabric in your garden and using things that are going to break down. But sometimes you have to do what you got to do. If plastic is the only way to keep that grass out of your garden, especially around your veggies and stuff, you got to do what you got to do. If you have to spray to keep certain pests from your flowers, you do what you got to do. So there's no judgment. Everybody has their own opinion, but some people use man-made products and they're like, look, this has always worked for me. I've never had this particular issue because I've always used this thing. Then so be it. Okay, so there are no hard, fast rules with gardening. You do what you do. You do what you love, and really start researching what you want for your garden. I always tell people to start off very small. Just make a small little pea-sized shape into their garden, and throw some plants in it and see what happens. What's the worst thing that could happen is something dies, and then you're like an intermediate gardener. And but otherwise, I mean, you find plants that you love, you put them in the ground, and you see what happens. And what's going to happen is you're going to be like, okay, why didn't it grow like that? Or why is it giving me this color bloom? Or why is it doing this thing? So you research and you find out why it's doing what it does. There's apps everywhere that show you if something's happening with your plant, what that disease is, or if you're not watering enough or watering too much. And that goes for houseplants too. Everything's online, so you don't have to particularly buy gardening magazines. You can just go online and get pictures and stuff like that. But sometimes it's just if you're a magazine person, like I used to be a huge magazine person, even though the internet was there, I just love to have the magazines, and because I'm a huge reader, so I just like to have that in my hand to do. And then let's see, I think that was it. Those were the biggest things that I just wanted to get out there, including the Facebook and the Instagram. If you go on my Instagram right now, you're gonna be like, really? I've already seen this. The two pictures, really? That's what we're doing today. But it is what it is. I'm gonna get it updated. And I'm only doing PRN work, so I'll still be able to get the videos out the way that we do. We do Sunday, Wordless Wednesday, just mainly focusing maybe on one plant, or just maybe focusing on a gardening definition. So we'll have like maybe a plant, and then it'll have a definition of what a perennial is, or maybe it'll have a definition of what a cottage garden is, because that's something that I think you guys need to do for homework, for those who will follow in the future, because I know I don't have that many followers, and that's fine. But in the future, at some point, somebody's going to look at the video and want some information. So I think a good homework thing is to look up cottage garden, look up English garden, look up formal gardens, look up semi-formal gardens, look up just the a knot garden, and it's not N-O-T, it's K-N-O-T. And knot gardens are just so amazing to look at. I mean, because there's just so many styles of it, and just look those up and just see what fits your fancy. holds your interest to look at? Do you like just straight lines of an English garden or a formal garden, or do you just like things kind of free flowing? And then there's also, you know, just mass plantings, like if you just do a meadow type garden, which is basically throwing some seeds out into the dirt and see what happens. So that's it for this video. Just make sure that you guys kind of look those things up, and then if you have any questions, we can talk about it later. So thank you so much for joining me today.